Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. Hello, and welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Erin.
It's great to have you, I should say. My brain's not working this morning. Before we get going, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Franke Previte, and I started out as a singer, songwriter, and then I became, after Dirty Dancing, a songwriter.
Love it. And two of the best songs. I've been listening to them on repeat since Anne-Marie told me I would have you on the show. When you first got into music, did you see yourself as winning an Academy Award?
Not really. My dad was an opera singer, so music was always going on in my house. And, for me, at the age of 10, my father had me singing for charity events to raise money for cerebral palsy, or, and I was singing songs as a 10-year-old, Be My Love by Mario Alonso. So I had no idea, but I knew that the accolades from hearing the audience respond to me gave me this feeling of, this is something cool and something I enjoyed doing. And then, I would go to Christmas events at my grandmother's, and she would, Frank, come on to sing. And, she'd want me to sing, and I'd go, Grandma, give me 25 cents. So I knew there was some kind of income I could make from it.
That's smart.
It was always in my blood. And, at 13, I put a group together with my cousin Joey Alessi called, believe it or not, Frankie Love, LUV, and the Intruders. And at 15, we got a record deal on Roulette Records. And, my parents at the end of high school wanted me to go to college, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to be a singer. And then they told me, hey, you graduate college and you can be anything you want to be. So instead of going to graduation, I was on the road with a rock and roll band. And here I am talking to you.
And you know what? I told my parents I wasn't going to college, but then I didn't really do anything, so I had to go to college. I can't sing, though, so there's a difference there.
Well, I think the singing part came easy to me. The songwriting part was something that really, took me time to write and rewrite. There are prolific songwriters like Bruce Springsteen or, Bob Dylan or Stevie Wonder, but I'm not one of them. I'm a guy that's got to get in the trenches and probably rewrite my song like 10 times before I'm happy with it. And so, that took a while, but my voice always got me into recording studios because people, would give me demo time. Oh, he sings really good. Bring him in here, and my songs were never as good as my voice until, many years of selling cars out of my driveway so I wouldn't have to join a cover band. My parents loaned me $300. I bought a piano. My cousin Dusty McCallie taught me how to plunk out some chords. And I wrote my first hit in 1981 called Sweetheart, which was a band called Frankie and the Knockouts. And that song went top 10. And then I had two other hits in that band that went top 20, Without You and You're My Girl. And then Frankie and the Knockouts kind of broke up after Jimmy Iyer, the president of Millennium Records, decided that he wanted to go into film. And so now I'm back home trying to get another record deal. And 2 years later, Jimmy Iyer calls me, the same guy who shut his label to go into film, and said, Frankie, I got this little movie I'm working on. I want you to write a song for it. I said, Jimmy, I'm really too busy to do any of that. I'm trying to get another deal. I'm selling cars out of my driveway. He goes, no, man. He goes, this is a good little, I said, all right, what's the name of the movie? And when he said Dirty Dancing, I was like, oh no, he wants me to write to a porn movie. But he goes, no, it's a good little movie. And he gave me like a 5-minute description. Baby meets Johnny. The father doesn't like the kid, but they end up together. And he goes, you think you want to write a song? I said, I'll give it a whirl. He goes, so the bad news is that you've got 2 weeks to write this song. They've turned down 149 songs so far, and they're getting ready to film the last scene first. He goes, go write the song. So I call up this guy that I had just started working with, John DiNicola. And I said, John, we have an opportunity. And I told him all about what Jimmy said. And John and I had written maybe 2 or 3 songs together at that point. The very first song that I wrote with John D. Nicole was called Hungry Eyes. And so he sent me a track. And on the Garden State Parkway, exit 140, I put the cassette back in 1987 into my dashboard and I started jamming. And I'm going, in the time of my life, in the time of my life. And I'm scribbling time of my life on an envelope. And when I met Patrick Swayze at the Academy Awards, he was like, dude, I need to talk to you. I said, what's up, Pat? He goes, how did you know to write those lyrics? I go, I got to tell you the truth. The man upstairs wrote those lyrics because I had no idea what your movie was about. And he goes, well, I tell you the truth. He goes, we didn't really like the movie. Jennifer and I weren't really getting along. We didn't have an original song to end the movie. We had listened to 149 songs and we're getting ready to do this last scene to a Lionel Richie track. He goes, a good song, but it wasn't our song. He goes, then Emil Ardolino walked in, who was the director, and said, wait, we got one more cassette. Let's listen to it. He goes, we listened to you singing Time of My Life with that girl, which was Rochelle Pelly. And he goes, we all looked at each other and went, let's go make a movie. And he goes, we started at 12 o'clock at night. We ended at 6 in the morning. And the camaraderie for the movie did a 180 after we finished that scene. And we're like, oh my God, what an ending. And so they went and filmed Hungry Eyes and the rest of the movie with this camaraderie, the newfound camaraderie that they had for the film. So it kind of turned my life and his life and everybody else's life around with a song. And so since, all that happened to me, the song has become more evergreen. It's a song that, still gets played over and over again. And I thought, how can I do something after Patrick passed away? I thought, let me find out where Lisa Swayze is donating her time and efforts. And so I found out she was with the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do a cold call. So I made a cold call to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and Pamela Acosta, who is the founder of the charity, answered the phone just out of the blue. Hey, Pamela, it's Franke Previte. Oh, hey, Frankie, what's up? And I said, I have an idea. She goes, what? I said, the 2 songs, Time of My Life and Hungry Eyes, that I'm singing, that they filmed the movie to? Yeah. I said, I'm going to sell them online and I'm going to give you all the money. So for the past 30 years, I've been selling those demos of me singing Time of My Life and Hungry Eyes on Facebook. So it's called Dirty Dancing Demos. And if you go there, you can actually purchase a copy of them filming Time of My Life, Hungry Eyes to the song. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see Jennifer actually sent me the filming that evening to the morning. So it's kind of a rough filming. It's a rough cut, but you see them learning the song to me singing, and then you see them practicing the lift scene. And so it's kind of a neat thing to go back. And if you're a Dirty Dancing, fan, I'm a fanatic. So it's kind of a cool thing. It's a great memory, and it's a piece of Dirty Dancing history.
That is really cool. And I am a Dirty Dancing fanatic. I was young when it came out. I don't remember what year it was, like 88 or whatever. I was born in 86, but that was one of the first movies that I remember. And I watched it over and over again, specifically that last scene, because I wanted to be a dancer.
So what I found out along the way is that they filmed the movie in 2 different places. They filmed it in Virginia. Pembroke, Virginia is where Kellerman's, or what we call Kellerman's, was located. And so they were filming and they're doing their thing. And then they all went to sleep and they woke up the next morning and the huge lake that was there had a sinkhole and all the water drained out of the lake. And they were like, what happened to the lake? Oh, this sinkhole happened and the lake is gone. So now they had to find a second place. So in Lake Lure, North Carolina, is where you see all the water scenes. And that's where the rest of the film was filmed in Lake Lore, which is kind of a cool little behind the scenes thing that happened during that movie. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's very interesting. I didn't know that. And I guess I didn't know that a lake could just swallow itself. It's like, that's a little creepy.
Overnight too, so that must have been a big hole.
Yeah. It makes me rethink going to lakes from now on. That's for sure.
Tucked up like you're in a bathtub.
Right. So, as you said, you also wrote Hungry Eyes. That one was written before the movie. That one didn't have anything to do with the movie.
No, see, Frankie and the Knockouts, I told you, Jimmy Ina closed his label, or to write with John, Gina Cola. And, these were songs that were going to be on the fourth Frankie and the Knockout record. And so when they asked me, do you have anything else? I said, yeah, I got this song, Hungry Eyes, so I sent it in. And the thing is that when they accepted both of those songs, they called me and said, okay, we really like them. We're going to give you $1,000 a song. I was like, $1,000? I had $100 in my bank account, but I knew better than $1,000 a song from being in the, music industry and stepping in a lot of potholes. So I said to them, I'm going to make you the deal of your life. And she said, what? And I said, give me $3,500 a song, which was still very cheap because I should have asked for $25,000. But here's the key. I said, let me keep my publishing, which means to all you songwriters out there, where are you? There you are. All you songwriters out there, when $1 is made, 50 cents of that dollar goes to the songwriter and 50 cents of that dollar goes to the publisher. So by me saying, let me keep my publishing, now I've earned the dollar.
Very smart.
Doubled down. And they were like, I'm not thinking too much of the movie. Yeah, sure. No problem. Keep it. Because they were going to put the movie out for 2 weeks and then go right to video with it. And at the end of 2 weeks, there was such a kind of uplifting for where can I get this song? And RCA didn't have any records pressed yet. And they were like, oh my God, we got to press some records. We got to do something. And before they could get records pressed, there was 1 million records backward. And it sold to date over 50 million records, which is like a stupid amount of records. But you know what? Made me happy.
I bet. And that was really smart and worked out really nicely for you, huh?
I went to Jimmy Ina School of Music. He taught me very well, what publishing was and how, important it is to own your own publishing. And I feel kind of sad for songwriters today because I slid under the limbo bar of when CDs and cassettes were still meaning something. And now today, all that has kind of gone away. And now, unless you're getting something in a movie or you're an artist that's really, selling 10 million records, it's a very hard business as a new songwriter to get your music heard. And so I listen to every young songwriter that wants me to listen to their music and try to advise them, here's what I think. This is what I think you should do. Here are a couple of connections where there are little boutique publishing companies that maybe you may have to give up something on your first song, but it'll be a start for you to develop your first one and get it out there. And then, continue on because now you've created your brand. So, I give young songwriters a lot of credit that want to make this their livelihood.
That's awesome. And it's great to have someone of your status doing that because a lot of people just think, whatever. But, a lot of people put a lot of work into this stuff and it gets lost in the weeds so easily, especially in today's digital age.
Big time. Big time. Yeah, it's a much different world we live in,
Yes, it is for sure.
Tougher world.
Yes, it is. It really is. I think back to the 80s and 90s when I was growing up and I have such nostalgia. And now I'm just like, I wish my kids could grow up then.
Think about the era of Dirty Dancing was 1963, right? So the age of innocence and how they connected a pop song from 1987 to connect with a song of 1963 and make it have relevance. And whoever thought of having Bill Medley, a righteous brother, sing Time of My Life was a genius because it connected the dots between the two eras. The voice brought you back to 63. The pop song of 87 brought you to the present.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things I think about the movie is it has a nice blend of both the music of the 60s with like the contours and whatnot and
Yeah,
your music, it blends so nicely. I was always amazed by how two different sounds can just merge and just become one. It's amazing how it works.
it's pretty cool. Eric Carmen sang Hungry Eyes. Now, Jimmy had told me originally when I submitted Hungry Eyes, this would be a great song for Frankie and the Knockouts, your band to sing. Why don't you sing this one? I said, sure. So I got the band together and I think it was a Friday, and I got a call from Emil to come into New York, the director. And we're watching, he goes, I want to write another song for another scene. And he goes, before we do that, what are the BPMs for Hungry Eyes? That means beats per minute. Because they're having a hard time linking your demo to the new recording. I said, well, what are you talking about, new recording? I'm recording on Monday. I'm at the power station. He goes, oh, you didn't hear. I said, hear what? He goes, well, RCA got a new president, and he was really good friends with Eric Carmen, and he gave Eric Carmen Hungry Eyes to sing. And I said, well, when were you going to tell me that? Well, just be happy you got a song in a movie. I said, I'm really happy, but I'm embarrassed because I've got all these people, lined up and learned the song. And well, just be happy. And, the rest is history. My mailbox is happy, so
There is that.
it's always that.
That's got to be rough though. I mean he did great. He did great.
He did a really good job. And, God rest his soul. Eric is no longer with us, but he did a very good job. I mean, it was a Raspberry. So Jimmy Einer produced the Raspberry. So I think there was even something more behind RCA that happened. But you know what? I'm still very happy that this success. I couldn't be happier.
Oh yeah. How strange is it to look back and realize those songs became what they are now?
It's very strange because I would have never in a million years, my dream was to hear myself sing on the radio. And so I surpassed that dream. I actually, when we were nominated, we won a Golden Globe that year. We won an Oscar that year. We won this ASCAP Song of the Year, which means the most played song in the world. So I brought my parents to the Academy Awards, and they were sitting left and right of me. And my father's, he's listening to all the songs, and he goes, I just heard all the songs, you're going to win. And I go, Dad, do not put the Maloiki on. Don't do it. And I don't remember leaving my seat and walking up on that stage. It was like, oh my God. Who gave me the Academy Award was Moore. His last name was Moore, Dudley Moore, and
Wow.
Minnelli. And then Sammy Davis presented us with the Golden Globe. So I got to meet some really cool people. I got to meet Patrick and Jennifer, and I'm good friends with Lisa Swayze. She comes to my shows. I produce a show called Taylor Simon King, which is a tribute to James Taylor, Carly Simon, Carole King, and their music, three American troubadours. And we play all over the country. And so when we're down in Florida, Lisa came to see us play. So it was great to see her again. So life is good. Life is good.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So you were just saying about the tour. What else do you have going on? Are you just kind of chilling, or like I would chill if I was,
Well,
but
I got a call from this record label called Friday Music and Joe Ragoso. And he said to me, I want to do, he says, you remember when you put out the first Knockout record? It was the single Sweetheart was on Valentine's Day. I said, yeah. And it was red vinyl. I said, yeah. He goes, I want to do a red vinyl Frankie and the Knockouts greatest hits. And I said, okay. And I said, but let me re-sing I've Had the Time of My Life and Hungry Eyes, and put those two. And so my wife, Lisa, is in this show, Taylor Simon King. And Lisa was a rockette at one time, and I was on Broadway, did a lot of Broadway stuff. And so I had Lisa sing the other, duet part with me. And we're putting out this. And one side, instead of saying side A, side B, I put on all the songs that were hit records for me. So I call it the hits. And then the B side, I call Rock and Roll Until Further Notice. Some of you will, if you're a Bon Jovi fan, this is Tico, who's our drummer, Tico Torres. And this is Lee Fox, who is the bass player for Blondie. So these guys went on after the knockouts to do some cool things. And Tico's still playing with Bon Jovi. They're all still my friends. And it's kind of cool that I was able to help them as they were helping me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's some talent there in that group. And
Yeah.
I love that it's going to be released on vinyl because I've started collecting vinyl and I've actually been listening to it. I like it. I like it better than just,
It's
pulling out my phone.
It's warmer. It has the digital signal is a colder signal, and your capacity to listen to it loud for a long time diminishes, as opposed to vinyl is an easier sound sonically for your ear, a warmer sound, and you can listen to it, enjoy it more and longer and louder without wanting to turn it off because it's, bothering you. But you can get that record at FridayMusic.com or Amazon and all those kind of places. So it's kind of neat. I'm going to give a lot of that money that I get from this record to the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There needs to be more research on that one. That one's a scary one for sure.
You know what Pamela said to me? She goes, obviously a cure would be great, but what our goal is early detection, because it's called the silent killer. You don't know you have it until it's too late. So they've come a long way. Like maybe 20 years ago, there was like 8% of the people would survive. It might be 25% now because of the research and the money that she's dedicated her efforts to.
That's awesome. And I will make sure that her information's in the show notes as well. Where can the audience find you?
Playing all over America with Taylor Simon King. Lisa also has a disco show that I produce called the Lisa Sharma's Disco Connection. So we're doing gigs, theater gigs, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 seat theaters. We play all over the country. Out in Arizona, we just did a festival out there. Then we come back and go out to Wisconsin. Then we'll go to Florida. Then we're back in Jersey. So it's wherever. The popularity of James Taylor, Carly Simon, Carole King, and their catalog is over the top. It's like kind of like the soundtrack to our generation, or many generations.
Oh,
Carole King music and James Taylor and Carly. And then what I did was just not to sing their music. I put up these projections behind them telling the story of their love affair, their breakups, why this music, why I'm connecting these troubadours together. The show starts out with a 3-minute little video of them telling their stories and how they connected with James Taylor. Starts with Carly, and then it goes into Carol saying, well, if it wasn't for James Taylor forcing me to sing on stage one night, I would have never done any of this. I just wanted to be a songwriter. And, at 15 years old, she had her first hit record. So, these people are like prodigies.
yes.
And we celebrate their music. At times, the audience is like singing louder than the band. And You Got a Friend, it's like over the top.
They are some of the best, almost like timeless, I would say.
Evergreen music again.
Yeah.
You could listen to their songs today and enjoy them as much as you did 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. I do all the time. I listen to more of the older stuff than I ever do the new stuff. I could not tell you any new song from the last 5 years, to be honest.
There are some cool artists that are out there. I really love Bruno Mars.
Yes.
I think he's kind of cool, and has just a naturalness about him. You can still see the joy in him as he performs. And I think that's important. as a performer that the joy comes out and the audience feels like they're in your living room. And that to me is performing.
Yes, agree with it. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been great. I truly appreciate it. Of
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
course.
Appreciate it.